Good morning, students. Today we will deal with chapter 4 of Moments book class 9th in the Kingdom of Fools. This is a very interesting chapter. You will enjoy it a lot. In the Kingdom of Fools, as the name indicates, there is a kingdom of fools. So, what this story is about, let's see. It is believed that fools are so dangerous that only very wise people can manage them. Who are the fools in this story? What happens to them? This is quite natural, students, that fools can be very dangerous for some time. Then we have to tackle them very carefully. So same is the story here. There are some fools in the story, and who was the wise man who tackled them, and what happened, what they did. So let's discuss the chapter line by line so that you can use the vocab part of the chapter in your answers to score good marks. So I'm taking this chapter line by line. Please try to understand and read every sentence very carefully. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the ministers were idiots. So this is very interesting that the king and minister both were idiots, both were fool. So you can imagine what they have done to the kingdom if they are both fool, king and as well as minister. These two are the powerful person in any state, and if they are themselves idiots, then what they will do with the rest of the people, you can imagine. They didn't want to run things like the other kings, so they decided to change night into day and day into night. Very interesting. So they don't want that their kingdom should run like other kingdoms. So they changed day into night and night into day. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night till their fields and run their business only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. This is very silly thing that they have done, that they have made day into night and night into day. So all the daily routine work that people used to do in day, they are doing in the night, and as soon as the sun came up, they sleeps. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. Oh my god, very serious punishment they have given, that anybody, if anybody dare to disobey them, then they will kill them. The people did as they were told for fear of death. Obviously, these were the orders of king, so they have to follow. The king and the ministers were delighted at the success of their project. This question can be arised. What was the project and why they were delighted? So now what happened? This is the scene that king and minister both are fools, and they have made day into night and night into day. So they are very happy, very delighted at the success of their project, because everybody was obeying them because of fear of death. Now what happened? One day a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Why? Because they were sleeping at the day night. As I discussed earlier also, everyone asleep, not a mouse is stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. This is the height of foolishness. Then even they have taught their animals to sleep at the daylight. The two strangers, who were the two strangers, guru and disciple, were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about it nightly business. So a whole day passed, they were roaming here and there, and when the sun set, then everybody came out of their houses and they were doing their nightly business. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. So first astonishing, very confusing thing was that there was nobody in the broad daylight, and as soon as the sun sets, everybody came out. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same. This is the second foolish thing that they have done. Either you can buy anything, the cost is same of everything. A single dudu is the name of the currency. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a dudu. Very interesting. Whatever you buy, any object you buy, you have to pay only one dudu. The guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. Obviously, we are also laughing. Whatever you want to buy, you can buy in one dudu. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. When they had cooked and eaten, the guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay there. As guru was a wise person, so he understood the situation, that it's not a good idea to stay here because they are fools. They can do anything. Then what he said? He said, "This is no place for us. Let's go," he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Everything was cheap here. All he wanted was good, cheap food. So what idea he gave to his guru, that everything is so cheap here. What we want? We want good and cheap food only. So why to leave this place? The guru said, "They are all fools. This won't last very long, and you can't tell what they will do to you next." So he's warning, "Please don't stay here. They are fools. They can do anything." But the disciple wouldn't listen to the guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The guru finally gave up and said, "Do what you want. I'm going," and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day. Ate his fill every day means a lot of food, excess of food he ate. Bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street side scared bull. So he was as fatty as a bull, like a street side bull. Why? Because he was eating very much. So one nice word we are having here, student, ate his fill every day. Fine. Now see what happened. There is a twist in the story. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. This is an interesting story. Please listen carefully. One bright day, a thief. Why thief entered in the bright day? You know, because day was night and night was day. In our city, this thievery generally takes place at the night when everybody is sleeping. But there it was on the bright day because day was night there. So thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in, peeped in, entered. And as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. And as he was going back out of the house, the wall was very weak and it fell on the thief, and the thief was dead. Very interesting. His brother ran to the king and complained, "Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade," listen student, ancient trade. What was the ancient trade? Stealing, thievery. "A wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good strong wall." So the thief's brother was blaming the merchant in which house he was looting, that he is responsible for that. Why he had built a weak wall? He should have built a good strong wall. "You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for the injustice." I want justice. My brother was killed because of the wall, and the merchant is responsible because he has not made a good wall. The king said, and you know our king is highly intelligent, he was a fool. "Justice will be done, don't worry." At once summon the owner of the house. And the king ordered, "Call the owner of the house. I want to do justice with this man." When the merchant arrived, the king questioned, "What's your name?" "Such and such, your highness." "Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house?" "Burgled?" Stealing something. "Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him." "The accused pleads guilty." "Your wall killed the man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you." What interesting decision justice is doing, that he is punishing merchant as the wall killed the thief. Very good. "Lord," said the helpless merchant, "I didn't put up the wall. It is really the fault of man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him." Now student, now the whole justice is roundabout. Now everybody is having their excuses, and now he's saying, "Your Majesty, I didn't prepare that wall. You please punish the person who had built it." "Who's that?" "My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby." So now the man who built the wall, he is old now because the wall was built at his father's time. The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him tied hand and foot. Listen, tied hand and foot. They have tied an old man by hand and foot and they brought them to the court. "You there? Did you build the man's wall in his father's time?" "Yes, my lord, I did." "What kind of a wall is this that you built? It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. You have to be punished by death." How intelligent the king is. He is going to punish the poor bricklayer. Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded. He was having his own story. What he's saying? Please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true I built this wall and it was no good. But that was because my mind was not on it. Now, what excuse he is doing? That my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives. So, what he did, this is because of that dancing girl. She was distracting me, and because of her, I was not able to make a good wall. So, I am not responsible. You please go and catch that girl. You are right. The case deepens. Deepens means the case was serious. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get that dancer wherever she is. These are the words of king. Let's bring that girl. The dancing girl, obviously, she is also an old woman now, came trembling to the court. Trembling, shaking. Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, my lord, I remember it very well. These are the words of dancing girl. So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him. So he built a bad wall. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You'll have to be punished. So now the justice, who was the culprit? Culprit is now dancing girl. She thought for a minute and said, my lord, wait. I know why I was waking up and down that street. I had given some gold to goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. Scoundrel is an abusing language. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then. And so all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault. My lord, it's damned goldsmith's fault. So the dancing girl, what excuse she gave? She gave that because of goldsmith, I was again and again going on that way. So I am not responsible for this. The goldsmith is responsible for that. Poor thing, she is absolutely right. A king is, fool. So he will make such decisions only. Thought the king, weighing the evidence, we have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. The king bailiffs, we can say that what we call cop, or we can helpers, searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. So goldsmith, who was having this information, he was hiding in the corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. Now say, student, what happened? A thief died. His brother complained in the court. Then first the owner of the house was bought, then the bricklayer, then the dancing girl, then the goldsmith. Now goldsmith is having his own story. So what he said? My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. Now what he said? He said, I was not able to made her jewelry because I had to complete a merchant's order. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry? Made her walk up and down, which distracted the bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him. Can you name him? Now he is asking, name that man. Who was him? Who was that? The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Very interesting. Then who was the merchant? The real owner of the house. Now justice had come full circle. Thought the king back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to court, he arrived crying, "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He's dead. I'm innocent." Now he's saying that my father had ordered the jewelry many years before, so I'm not responsible for that. Now my father is dead and I'm innocent. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. What he said? "It's true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead. But somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die." So our foolish king, what he said, that you have inherited everything from your father, then you have to take the death punishment of your father too. And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. So the final culprit we are having. As the servant sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now student, what happened? So the stake that they prepared, so this merchant, he was very thin, he was not fitted there. So this was the real problem. Now what should we do? What shall we do, he said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. Very good. So foolish king, what he said, as this merchant is not fitted in this stake, then we have to find a man who is fat enough, who can be fitted in this stake. What kind of justice is this? The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. Do you remember the disciple who was eating at his fill every day and he became like a street scared bull? So he was the one who was fitted to the stake. So see how an innocent man, disciple, he was caught in this web. "What have I done wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi," he cried. "That may be true, but it is the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake," they said, and carried him to the place of execution. He remembered his wise guru's words. What were the words? "This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will do next." While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers. He could see far, and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. He arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrap through love of food. Scrap is nonsense. So the disciple remembered his guru, and guru was there to help him out. As soon as he arrived, who is he? Guru. He scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. First he scolded, "I told you na, this is the kingdom of fools and you never know what they will do to you next. Let's go from here. You didn't listen to me." And he whispered something in his ears. He said something. Then he went to the king and addressed him. Then he went to the king. Now he is very intelligently, he will tackle a foolish king. What he said? "O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple?" कहते, "O wisest king, you please tell, who is great, the guru or the disciple?" "Of course the guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask?" "Then put me to the stake first, my disciple to death after me." This is very strange. What guru demanded? Guru said, "Please put me to the stake first and put my disciple to death after me." He is, willing to die, and he requesting, "Please do this." When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor, shout, "Me first. You brought me here first. Put me to death first, not him." Now guru and disciple both were fighting who will die first. The guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the guru, "Why do you want to die?" "We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake." "You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first," replied the guru. Guru said, "Please don't ask all these questions. You just put me to death." Why? There's some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. Now the king said, I want to know. What is the mystery behind it? Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you? Asked the Guru. The king gave him in Solomon. Solomon is serious word. The Guru took him aside out of the servants' earshot. Earshot means as they are not able to listen, he put him aside and whispered to him, do you know why we want to die right now? The two of us? We have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new. It has never had a criminal on it. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country, and whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. So what he said, this is a great stake, God of justice, and whoever die first here will be reborn as a king. We are sick of our ascetic life. We don't want to be, live this sannyasi life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as a king and minister for a while. Now keep your words, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. The Guru very smartly he is befooling the king. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time. So he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. Minister was also fool. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we'll be reborn as king and minister again. Holy man, do not tell lies, he said, and the minister agreed. So the foolish king and the minister both are ready to die. So he told the executioners, we'll send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to the death first. Then the second man. Those are my orders. Don't make any mistake. So he directed his executioners. That night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the Guru and the disciple, disguised themselves. Disguise means wear their clothes as the two, and as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. Now, they were executed. King and minister both are dead, and Guru and disciple are released. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. People were very panicked. Why? They saw before them the dead bodies of king and the minister. The city was in confusion. Oh my God, what this happened? Our king and minister both are dead. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Now again I am reminding, all night they mourned. Why? Because night was day there. Some people suddenly thought of Guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave the town unnoticed. So Guru and disciple, they were trying to run away from there. Fine. So people caught them. We people need a king and minister, said someone. Other agreed. They begged the Guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple. Persuade is convince. Fine. So disciple, he was very happy by listening that, okay, I am ready to be the minister of this kingdom. But it took longer to persuade the Guru. But Guru took a lot of time to decide whether he wanted to be king there or not. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. Now the Guru decided, okay, fine, I will be your king, but I have some condition that I will change all the old laws. From then on, night would be night and day would again be day. So he rectified everything and you could get nothing for a doo-doo. It became like any other place. So it was like a normal kingdom, and the Guru and the disciple were the next king and the minister. So now students, some of the questions are there, very easy questions. What are the two strange things the Guru and the disciple find in the kingdom of fools? You know, that is about one doo-doo and day into night and night into day. Why does the disciple decide to stay in the kingdom of fools? Is it a good idea? Not at all. It was not a good idea. He stayed there because everything was cheap there, and what he needed only good food. Name all the people who are tried in the king's court and gave the reasons for their trial. First the merchant, then the bricklayer, then the dancing girl, then the goldsmith, and the merchant's father. Who is the real culprit according to the king? Why does he escape punishment? Who was the real culprit? Real culprit was the merchant himself. Why? Because he has inherited everything from his father, so he would be punished. And how he escaped? Because he was very thin and he was not fitted to the stake. What are the Guru's words of wisdom? Guru's words was, this is a kingdom of fools. You never know what they will do to you next. It's not a good idea to stay here. When does the disciple remember them? Disciple remembered them when he was taken to the court to be executed. How does the Guru manage to save his disciple life? He built a fake story that this is a stake of God, God's justice, and who would be stake here first will be reborn as a king and second will be reborn as a minister. So this is a very interesting and easy story in the kingdom of fools. Just go through it and solve the internal questions.